Hi and welcome to another Just Ask Jen Create Today video hosted by Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. This particular video is sponsored by Stampin' Up. We are going to be answering the question today, how do you use punches and stamps that coordinate together? This collection is a fun Stampin' Up collection and it includes these beautiful hexagon and sentiment stamps, a coordinating hexagon punch. The inks that coordinate with this collection are beautiful blues, lavenders, greens, and yellows. There is several cardstock colors in the store that complement this collection as well. In addition to this collection, there are some fun embellishments such as the speech bubble, arrow, and hanger paper clips. We'll also be using some fun brads, as well as this pattern paper set from this beautiful picnic collection. So let's get started. So to start the layout, I started with the purple pattern paper, has circles on the back, and then I cut a square to fit on top, and it is a light blue pattern paper with a triangle shape on the back. Then I wanted to add a little cluster to this part of the layout, so I'm going to add a doily, and you can get these at many craft stores. And then I wanted to create a tag. So I took some of this yellow pattern paper that has the beautiful roses on the back, and I'm going to mount this in the center of the doily. Then I took a white piece of cardstock and machine stitched around the edge with some yellow sewing thread, and we'll adhere this in the middle. Now Stampin' Up! Has lots of different tools that help make the process of designing much easier. And one thing that they have is a die cut shape that cuts out flowers. And it cuts them in 3 different sizes, and it cuts them in a small, medium, and large. And I've taken the smallest one, and in the middle of each flower shape I added a pearlized button. And we're going to go ahead and place these on our tag, and it's a little bit reminiscent of a button tag that you might find in a sewing shop or in a vintage shop of old buttons. To the bottom of the tag, I am going to add a strip of cardstock, and I'm going to cut it in a pennant shape by just cutting a triangle from the bottom edges. And then I want to give it a little bit of dimension, and so I'm going to gently fold it. And you can do this with a scoring tool, or you can just eyeball it, which is what I'm doing here. And you just fold it and crease it, and that will give you just a little bit more dimension, and you can see how it creates a little pennant shape. And we'll go ahead and adhere this to the bottom of that button tag. And then I wanted a little sentiment for the little pennant, and so I took one of the stamps from the stamp set, and it's this little Hello Sweet Friend, and I stamped on some blue cardstock. And I'm going to actually use the Pool Party ink color. It's a nice soft blue, and it's not the color that's recommended for this collection, but it works because it's similar tone. You can see how it says Hello Sweet Friend. And we're just going to adhere that on top of that purple pennant. We're just building up layers of this little tag. Now an additional item that I wanted to add to the tag is I wanted to use one of the fun paper clips I showed you at the beginning of the video. And I'm going to use this small arrow, and it's just like a paper clip, and you just adhere it. And I wanted to make sure that it was pointing right at that first flower. Now I wanted to show you the hexagons in this particular collection. Now one thing that you can do is you can take this fun pattern paper, and you can see that I fussy cut around the shapes. And fussy cut is when you cut exactly around a shape, which is what I did for this particular little hexagon. And this is a repeating pattern in the collection. But another fun thing that you can do is you can take cardstock, and you can take the coordinating cardstock with the coordinating color. And this is Summer Starfruit, and I'm using Summer Starfruit stamping ink. And this is where they make the job easy for you. So you ink up your stamp, and then you stamp it onto the cardstock. Now I could fussy cut around this, but they have provided you with a matching hexagon shape, and to punch it out you simply match the inside stamped image with the punch image and punch it out. So that gives you a perfectly punched hexagon shape. So you can fussy cut from this collection, or you can punch and stamp from this collection. Another thing that you can do is you can take any of the fun colors from the pattern paper and punch a shape directly from the pattern paper. So you can use the stamps alone, and you can also use the punch alone, or you can fussy cut the shape. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the hexagon effect from this fun collection. So we are just going to create a little cluster of hexagons. You will notice that the pattern paper hexagon is slightly smaller than the other two, and that is a fun element for your layout. At the top of the layout, I'm going to add some strips of pattern paper from the collection, and I've cut one from this fun herringbone pattern, and we're going to layer this on the top of the layout after I cut a little hexagon, or rather pennant shape from it. So we'll just layer at the top here, and then we'll trim off the excess from the back using a pair of scissors. Then I have a second piece of pattern paper, and this one is blue on this side, and then it has the hexagons. It is the paper I cut this hexagon from, and I'm just going to cut this at a diagonal. And we're going to layer this right on top of that herringbone pattern. And then again, we'll trim off the excess from the back. Another punch that Stampin' Up! Offers is this fun notebook punch. And I punched two separate borders from Kraft cardstock, and we're going to add one to the bottom of the tag. And then I'm going to ruffle it up a little bit, give it a little bit more dimension. And then I'm going to take the rest of that same punch and I'm going to tuck it behind this teal border at the top. And again, we'll ruffle it just a little bit with our fingers, just to give it a little bit more texture and dimension. At the top of the layout, I have some additional items that I want to use. I have used this fun die cut from Sizzix. It's a leaf die cut. Again, it's a Sizzix and Stampin' Up! Exclusive. And I cut 2 leaves from vellum. And I like cutting from vellum because it's just a very subtle look on your layouts. So we're going to add 2 of these. And then I have some more of those die cut flowers that we used before. You can see I have the large and the medium, and I want to add some more hexagons to the top. So let's go ahead and add some of those. This time I'm going to use some purple cardstock, and I'm going to use the diagonal hexagon shape that comes in this collection of stamps. And I'm going to use Wisteria Wonder, which does match the elements in this collection. Press firmly. And then again, you can either fussy cut out the shape that you've stamped, or to save time, you can use the punch that matches this stamp set. We'll go ahead and adhere this to the top. I want to tuck that right behind the border at the top. Then I fussy cut another small green dot hexagon from the pattern paper, and we'll add that as well. Then we're going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of these vellum leaves, and you don't have to add a lot, and they are fragile, so do be careful when you add adhesive. And we're going to be placing the flower on top of them. Don't put too much adhesive on them because they are see-through, and you don't want to see much of the adhesive coming through. And I like layering more than one. So let's go ahead and add these flowers to the center of the vellum cut, and then I'll use the medium flower right there. Again, I'm using pearlized buttons for the center of the flowers. You could use brads, you could use whatever else you want to use in the center of those flowers. Now we have these fun brad toppers that come with the Stampin' Up! System of making brads, and you can use them with the brad bottoms, or you can just use the tops, which is what I'm going to do. And we're just going to add a few dots in both the yellow and the green to the top of that layout. You can see how they look. Now I have the photos that I want to use for this page, and they feature my niece, and she was visiting. And we'll go ahead and add these. These are 4x6 photos, and I left them with a white photo border. We're going to slightly overlap them. Put one a little bit higher than the other one. Then for my title, I cut a die cut from the Silhouette machine that says "You are amazing," and we're going to add some glue to the back of this die cut. And I'm using a Zig glue pen. You could also use a Xyron machine and run these through your Xyron machine. And we'll just paint the back of these, and then we'll adhere it directly to the layout. Stampin' Up! Also offers several different kinds of title stamps and alphabet stamps if you prefer stamping for your title. We're going to just layer these right on top. The nice thing about this die cut title is I can manipulate it and give it a curve if I want, or I can just attach it flat as is. Then for the journaling, I printed it out on some kraft cardstock, and I used my photo printer and my regular at-home printer, and we're going to center it on the photos. I tried to bring in several different craft items to match it up. Then I want to add a little bit of that teal to the bottom of it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two little pennant side shapes for this journaling block. And to do that, I'll just cut off the triangles like I typically do. And then we're going to cut them straight off. And then we'll adhere one to each side of that journaling block. And it just dresses up that block just a little bit. And then to the center of each of those, you can come back and add some of the yellow dots that we used above, just to give it a little bit of dimension. Or you could add them to the brad bottoms and create brads for this layout. So here you have a layout that uses the stamps and the coordinating punch tool to make the design process go easier. Be sure to subscribe to the Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine YouTube channel to see all the videos in this series.